Frank Foster contributed a whole lot of music that bass is known for, you know.
You know, that song he wrote, Shiny Stockings, I don't think he ever got this due credit or his money.
Frank Foster wrote that song?
And arranged it.
He's making a lot of money from this, isn't he?
I don't know if he's getting royalties because I think he lost the publishing on it.
He wrote this? Yeah, I know the tune. You sure he has no money?
Well, unless he's lying to me.
Here's Shiny Stockings with Count Basie on Jazz 88.
This is like a fairy tale story. It's the absolute truth. When I was in college, I was in a band called the Wilberforce Collegians. And I was playing lead alto in that band. And they had an engagement in Indianapolis, Indiana. We got there and we played this dance. It was just a public dance. That very same evening, Jazz at the Philharmonic was in town.
They call us lucky.
I almost went through the ceiling, man. Sarah Vaughan smiled at me. Now this was 1948. 5 years later, in 1953, the Count Basie band was looking for somebody to take Lockjaw Davis's place. I was on a weekend pass in Detroit, Michigan, and I ran into an old buddy of mine from Cincinnati, Ohio. Hey man, how you doing? Yeah, everything's cool. How you doing? Great. Count Basie's looking for you. I said, looking for me? I just got in town. Nobody even knows I'm here. He said, Count Basie's looking for you, man. They playing over at the ballroom on Woodward Avenue tonight. So I went over there, still wearing the uniform of the U.S. Army, and my tenor sax, my Berg Larson mouthpiece in my pocket. I say it's a real fairy tale because that's just what it is.
Is he married?
His lovely wife.
Lovely wife?
Cecilia.
Cecilia. She's lovely?
Oh, she's
wonderful. What's she doing with Frank?
Who knew that Frank Foster was a ladies' man? He was married. But anyway, that's how I met Frank Foster.
Oh, nobody near us to see us or hear us.
Back in those days, you know, there were a lot of really active jazz clubs. You know, that a lot of the guys like Frank Foster, you know, my heroes, you know, they were all there. They were, you know, either playing in the clubs or hanging out at the clubs. It was a real community. The thing that I loved the most about that time period was that spirituality was coming into music.
Freedom comes only with the change, and the change comes only with the victory, so the victory is mandatory.
I didn't take part in demonstrations, certainly not riots, but I was always in the background saying, we got to get there, you know. Somebody came up with the term silent majority. Now, I understood the silent majority to mean that group of people who acquiesce to the demands of the minorities vis-a-vis African Americans for equality and justice and all that, but that they didn't necessarily want it to come to pass.
I had a lot of fun making this record. It was a fun time, you know, because I was around all these great musicians, and Frank created this really healthy environment. He was interested in things, you know, outside of him holding a saxophone.
I never apologized for, nor I never backed down on the name Loud Minority. Mel Lewis, the second half of the Thad Jones-Mel Lewis duo, he advised me one time, he said, man, if you had white musicians in your band as well as black, a mixture of white and black, such as what the Thad Jones Mel Lewis orchestra had, see, the quality would be better. And I reasoned to myself, now what does he mean by that? Does he mean that white musicians will bring up the level of quality of my band? Whereas it being an all black band, it's always going to just be doomed to a certain level above which it will not rise. And which made me all the more determined to keep my band all black. Black musicians were not welcomed into the studio scene and other lucrative areas of the musical profession. And the excuse was, well, black musicians can't read well enough. I wanted for blacks to qualify for those jobs in the industry which required doubles and expert reading. And I thought, well, anybody that plays in my band, as hard as my music is said to be, they'll learn to read and they'll be able to qualify for any of those positions.
A lot of brothers wasn't getting a chance to get that experience. He was giving us all a chance to get that experience playing in the big band, in the big band setting, and on a regular basis, because that's the only way you're going to really get it. As a matter of fact, he named the band The Loud Minority because we always played so loud.
During his hiatus from the Basie Band, and before he got back with the Basie Band as its conductor, we were both teaching up at Jazzmobile. And all the students were very honored and to have somebody of his stature.
While I was a student at NYU, I went to study at Jazzmobile. They had a very hip program in the 70s where you studied, it was $5 registration fee, and you studied the whole school year on Saturdays.
This brought life to the program with his music and his arrangement and his temperament. And the students gained immeasurably from just the body of work that they had access to, and to be under his baton, you know.
You know, my playing elevated, just breathing the same air as Frank.
For me, it was interesting to hear where he had been, say like in the 50s with the Basie Band, and then where he had moved to in the 60s and 70s with his own band and with the music that he was writing.
Sometimes you get stretched out a little further than you should be. Things aren't as easy as you thought they would be, you know. The hardest part of the business is getting to the gig. The music's not hard, because you know what you're doing, you know. But when you're traveling, you don't know what you're going to run into.
And so they made it. They made it. Came back, you know, went home.
This was March of 2001.
We were at home, and he went to lift, that's one of my sister's children, and all of a sudden he said his whole body just went numb.
This minor stroke left him, his left side, semi-paralyzed, and it's still semi-paralyzed. Here we are 6 years later.
That was tragic, you know, because, you know Frank Foster, you know how dedicated he is and how much he loved to play. And for him to be struck down like that, you know. But I don't know, that's maybe a part of not being able to say no.
I've never heard him complain about what has happened to him. I've never heard him, you know, angry, but I don't know what happens when he's by himself or in Cecilia, you know, but this is like one of the greatest saxophone players, arrangers. Thank God he could still write, and he's still writing today.
He writes, he teaches, he conducts, he put Cecil Bridgewater, he made him the music director over the Loud Minority, but Frank still writes for the Loud Minority.
Hey, young fella, what are you here for the handicap show?
Guys like Frank are going to always be on the side of the art, you know, and hopefully the commerce will follow. That's a real struggle.
Nobody likes to be poor. You always think the idea that one day you would be discovered and your career would change, you know, something like that, but you have to kind of create your own destiny.